Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Lost and Found with Frankie. And today I have my lovely friend Emily on, who I actually met at uni. We delve into grieving at uni and how I ended up telling her about Matt and how I was petrified meeting new people when I started that new chapter and how she made it so easy. We talk about being friends to people and what you can do to be there for them that are so small, going along with their laughter, their dark humour, because dark humour is so important sometimes, and so much more of the journey at uni. We also talk about Emily's journey of grief as she lost her lovely nana recently, a few years ago, and just the wonderful mindset that she has towards it after so much pain and being so honest with her emotions and showing how important that is to your journey with grief. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you learn a lot from Emily because she's got a lot to give. And let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to Lost and Found with Frankie, a podcast for young adults and teens who are just trying to figure out who they are whilst dealing with one of life's most devastating experiences, grief. I'm Frankie, and 10 years ago, when I was 13 years old, I lost my eldest brother, Matt. Like you're probably feeling now, I felt lost, alone, angry, and completely overwhelmed with sadness, and was just craving a space where I could go and feel comforted and understood. So this podcast is my way of creating that space for you, whilst opening up the taboo topic of grief, which so many of us experience. So if you're feeling lost on your journey with grief, hi, and welcome to this safe space. Thank you so much for being here with me today. You are not alone, and I hope that this podcast brings whatever it is that you're seeking on your journey. So let's get into it. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
We have got another friend of Frankie Cragg on. Because actually, I think it's a pivotal thing, talking about making friends during grief. And Emily has had her own grief as well, which we will get onto. But hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, thank you so much for being
Can't believe we're finally here.
I know, after all this time. We'll explain in a sec. Okay, but just to start, we're just going to have a drink today. We are drinking Pimente today. Bit of ASMR.
Oh, I bet that sounds really good.
And we're having the cucumber and elderflower.
My favourite one.
Pimente margs
Well, actually,
are
now grapefruit, but
the best.
cheers.
Cheers, honey. Cheers. And yeah, they're just the best. Anyway, we just needed some grief journey juice, and I'm here for it. So thanks, Pimente.
Thank you, Pimente.
Okay, so we met at uni, it was great when we met. It was hilarious. Okay, do you want to tell the story, or do you want me to?
Well, I can.
Sorry, this is a bit of like a chaotic start. But hi, welcome.
Hi, welcome to our channel.
Welcome to our brains, how we communicate on a day-to-day basis.
Well, uni, I mean, I can start from my point of view of the fact that I think I arrived on, the Friday? And I'm sure anyone who has been to uni can relate to this. When you get there,
it's so overwhelming.
But also you get there and you're like, oh, I really hope I've got a good, well, in our case, it was a kitchen, but most people have a flat.
Yeah.
But I really hope I've got a good flat. I hope the people in there are really nice. Anyway, I get there and it's just empty. There's one other girl there and we actually don't speak anymore, but I was just a little bit nervous because I was walking around and I could see loads of groups of people. Everyone was so happy. Everyone had found their group.
Friends
and I was
already?
Like, guys, we've been here for half an hour. How have you already made all your friends? This is so unfair.
I know. Also, I was late to that weekend because I had a wedding. That first night out must have been so weird.
Don't even want to think about it. It was honestly, when it's one of those things, it's just forced fun where you're trying to make new friends and you're just like, hi, what's your name? Hi, I'm Emily, and all
you
this,
get really drunk.
And then it was that era of people being like, what's your Snapchat? I'll add your Snapchat, and you're like, oh my God. And I was just, no one was in our kitchen. No one had actually turned up yet, and I thought this is really weird because it's quite typical that everyone would turn up on the Friday. Anyway,
yeah.
So fast forward, couple days in, I'm literally like, okay, is this brace myself? Is this how uni is going to be? And then, thank God, Frankie and Debbie just wander into the kitchen. I think I'm probably cooking tuna pasta or something.
Oh, your tuna pasta.
And you guys just walk in, and I'm just like, oh, yes. And
with so many bags.
Why
did I have that much stuff?
I just feel like we instantly...
Energies.
Yeah, got along. I think you could tell straight away that we were going to get along really well. But obviously at that point I didn't realise how close we would then become. But it was like a breath of fresh air then having you come in.
I think you just have those people in life sometimes that you just like connect with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that was literally it for us. I remember like meeting you and be like, oh yeah, like she's cool.
And also, what was it?
I think you were in
Emily
your fun
as well.
maxi. Oh my God, yeah. So then my sister was at the same uni, Leeds, that we went to. And also Matt was there as well. So it was really nice. And same halls and everything. And she met her best friend, also called Emily, who was doing a subject and Spanish at uni. And I was literally like, no, this is a bit weird because they're like soulmates. And I was like, oh my God, I found my soulmate too. And she's called Emily. And I remember texting
Spanish.
Yeah, literally. And I remember texting George as Emily, like, oh my God, shout out to Emily. You know who you are. And I was like, oh my God, I think I found my Emily. And it was just so sweet. And also you two get on so well.
Yeah.
The Emilys.
Yeah.
But yeah, like on like a grief note, I remember like coming to uni, I was petrified.
Yeah.
I was so scared meeting people that weren't in my bubble.
Yeah.
And so obviously everyone up to this point knew my family, knew me, knew my bubble, like, or knew Matt or knew Harry or George or whatever. And it was not that everyone like knew who we were. That's not.
No,
but as in, like,
but you had already explained to people,
and you're in a little bubble from where like you grew up, aren't you?
Yeah.
And so going to uni to a completely new city, meeting people who had no clue who I was petrified. Like I was so scared. Like I'm not going to tell anyone. No one's going to get me. When I tell them, they're going to think I'm like attention seeking or like bringing the mood down, which
is
all
a crazy thought.
No, it is crazy. But when you're 18,
yeah, of
like
course.
Me now, I like don't look at it that way, of course.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I that was something I felt a lot. Like, I'm going to be bringing the mood down. Like whatever. I don't think that anymore. And as you just said, what a weird
what?
Excuse me.
Sorry.
No, love it. Love that energy. That's why we're best friends. And honestly, this is how I knew like you were stuck for life. The first night we went out. I'm there like, yeah, I'm not going to tell anyone. We went out with our kitchen, and then also like we just found like the best people that night.
Yeah,
that day
who are now still our core friends.
Like cool friends, and it was so fun. And I remember we went out and we just went to the toilet, and I just told you everything.
I remember we went to the disabled toilet in Charles Morris, and we both opened up about probably some of our deepest secrets and whatever it was, and it just was the first night, and it was. I remember that so
everything.
Clearly.
And when I say everything, like how he passed away, like that's not something I usually like divulge.
Yeah,
but we were obviously a little bit drunk.
So
that obviously like makes you feel whatever. On the way to the club, and everyone was like, the Uber's here, and we were like, oh, we're just having
leave
a
us
moment. Leave us alone. And like, yeah, like and from then I was like, cool.
Yeah.
I got my gal.
Remember that because I've got such bad memory of some things, but I remember, especially the fact that we were quite tipsy as well. But I remember that moment so clearly. And I think it goes to show something quite special when, like, if someone's out there now who feels like they haven't met the people that they can be that open with, or if there's a certain type of process, how it should work. Like, there was no process for that. We just both literally naturally felt like we could open up to each other.
You could it's just like a feat. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you.
You can't explain it.
But it will happen for you, as you say. Like, if anyone's listening and like they haven't found their people yet, whether you're like just in your grief journey or like a little bit further into it. I met you like 5 years.
No, I know.
5 years
honestly
into my grief.
It's nearly 6 years. In September, 6 years.
Yeah.
29.
So like, I had a lot of time before that where I had also met people.
Yeah.
Like some of my closest friends still now who got me and just got it. And I had that feeling with them still. But uni for me was like I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's gonna be scary.
Yeah.
And then I ended up slowly telling more and more people. Like, I remember I told this, I will never get over this. I didn't tell one of our other friends. I won't mention his name. Well, whatever. He might not want it in. But I hadn't told him about Matt yet, but basically, and this is another grief thing. The first year of uni, the first like 2 months of first year, my grandma passed away.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was
And
the
that was
most
all a whirlwind as well.
Oh my God, it was
Yeah.
horrible. Okay, story time. It had just been Halloween and I'd actually just been to see Lol Kana
Oh my God,
with
what a
Izzy
throwback, yeah.
in the O2. Oh my God, most incredible night of my life. It's crazy how quick
Regrets,
things
why
can
did I
change.
go?
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, he's so handsome. Anyway, and I wake up and a couple of mornings after to like this banging on my door. A banging on the door, and it was reception, and they opened my door like, your mum's been trying to get hold of you. So my mum had called the reception of our halls, like trying to get hold of you, like you need to call her back now, like it's urgent. Also, someone who's already quite like had that grief before, and I have this thing with my mum where I'm like, you can't just call me out of the blue anymore.
Yeah.
Just can't
Or
do it.
text first
I
or
can't
something.
cope.
Unless it's like urgent. Or...
Yeah, like text me or like, yeah, anyone who's dealing with grief, that's, if you feel that, I feel you.
Yeah.
I'm there with you, because it's just like stressful. When you've had that happen as well and like negative news follows, you're just like coded in your brain to like expect that.
Yeah, expect the worst.
And we'll get on to like your grief as well.
Yeah.
Very similar thing. So honestly, and then I call my mum and she's like, you need to be on the next train to London. Like, honestly, it was so dramatic.
Again,
like,
panic.
Again, like, we speak about this now and like laugh back at it. Like, the situation wasn't funny, but like we do laugh that like it was so dramatic. And I
also,
remember,
it's one of those things, how do you even, again, handle that situation?
there's no right way
exactly,
to.
yeah.
And the doctors are then obviously telling her she was in the hospital. Oh, like, she's not going to make it through the day. Honestly, awful. Anyways, I'm rushing. Harry's in Newcastle. We're both rushing to the train. We meet at King's Cross. I've never gotten so... I'm sat on this train from Leeds to London, bawling my eyes out. Full train. Obviously, it's always got to be the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why couldn't it be an empty train? And I'm like bawling my eyes out, sat next to someone because it's full. I didn't even have space to just be like on a 2 on my own.
Yeah.
Staring out the window like, you know.
Deep in life, yeah.
And like, I literally... That was just horrible. Then me and Harry get to Norbiton Station to go to Kingston Hospital. Mum calls us like, they've just told her she's only got a few minutes left. Harry and I sprinting, crying, sprinting through the hospital. And then we get there and they're like, oh no, like she's okay.
And you're like, okay, trauma.
Sorry.
Panting.
This day was actually really traumatic. Anyway, I've gone on a massive tangent there.
No.
But anyway, it was actually, oh, like I feel like I could see myself getting emotional here. But it was really beautiful. Like my nanny, called her Nanny Pat, I've spoken about her before. She waited to see all of her grandchildren and all of her children.
That's amazing.
And then she just like really peacefully went. But she held on, like the doctors were a bit like, she should have gone. Like, we don't know how she was holding on. And she waited to see all of us. And it was just that day was horrible, but also like beautiful.
And I
think for me and my grief, because I didn't get to say goodbye to Matt, the fact that I could say goodbye to my grandma was like a closure I didn't have with Matt.
Yeah.
I've come to realise I didn't need that with Matt, but at the time I was like, I'm so happy I got to say goodbye and like tell her I love her. And like, it was an awful experience, but also one I will cherish, which is so weird because it's like a double-edged sword. And there's such a bittersweetness to it. But yeah, like that's like another aspect of just like now things that have like what that grief has left me with. But coming back to like telling people at uni and like uni life and me telling you, like, I remember you were one of the first people I called.
Yeah.
When she had passed away that next Wednesday morning, and I'd only known you 2 months.
Which is crazy because I suppose when you're at uni and you're with people the whole time, like you said, it's been such a short period of time, but you do just grow so close to people so quickly. Yeah, exactly. And like you were ultimately then their support system.
Because I had to come back to uni and then you guys were my like support system.
Which in itself is hard because you want to be around the people you love the most. And I think especially at uni, we were very lucky, granted, because we really loved the people that we lived with. But like, if you're in a space and you don't really like the people around you, but you're supposed to get on with life, do all of this stuff, it can be so intense and so overwhelming.
It's like it's tough and like it's a tricky one to like navigate. And I feel like I was very lucky actually at uni, but that was solely you for like a couple months.
Yeah,
and I had Izzy there, he's one of my best friends from my school before uni. And so I felt like I had like 2 solid people. And then obviously as time went on, I started to feel more confident
Yeah.
to tell like some of the boys and some of our other friends. And like,
did it take quite? I can't even remember. Did it take quite a while for? How did it naturally come up with the boys?
I actually wouldn't be able to tell you. I think most of the time you were drunk.
Yeah.
But Babs
if that's the
was
way you want to tell people, that's fine.
So I told Babs because I was running down to the station
that
day with Nanny Pat, and he was walking back, and I was bawling my eyes out running, and he was like, "Oh my God, Frankie, where are you going?" I was like, "My grandma's dying," and like it was just like, ugh.
And at that point, I suppose it's hard because
he was like,
as the friend as well, you are then in your head, you're like, okay, in supportive mode, like how can I best support someone without also making them feel really different to how life used to be without them, in the sense of like my friend, her mum passed away in 2018, and it was really, really heartbreaking and really sad, and she is just so strong. I'm so proud of her and she's incredible. And I remember her saying to my friendship group, she was just like, the best thing that happened, I suppose, afterwards is that you guys didn't change the way you were around me. Obviously, if she's upset, you are so much more empathetic and compassionate, but you don't actually change who you are, because then the person, I suppose, feels more isolated and different.
And it's like I am different, but I'm still the same person. It's a hard one to gauge as a friend.
Yeah.
And like Millie and I and Shara and I touched on this as well, but it's like I would never want, like, in a friendship, like Shara and I, for example, Millie and I, like, we're so like brutally honest with each other. We take the piss out of each other, and like we have a banter, and like I would never ever want that to stop. Like you're saying, like still treat me like you did before, but it's like you just shift a little bit when that topic comes up.
You have that awareness.
It's a special day, or they tell you they're upset, or you just shift, and like that's like normal life. You would do that when anyone's trauma, but it's also exactly, don't treat me completely differently, because then actually you might end up making that person feel worse, but also just like be aware. It's finding that balance.
And it's also like even anniversaries and stuff like that, I suppose, is as a friend quite a good thing to just acknowledge and keep in your diary, and just know that on that day that person might need a little bit extra love and gentleness and compassion. And I think that's always quite important as a friend, if you're supporting another friend who is grieving.
I have a question for you, because like sometimes obviously I can be like sometimes quite dark humor and like laugh about my grief, or like be a bit weird and like speak to Matt. Like how have you found like gauging that, like when to laugh along, and like, because that must be, I can imagine maybe at the start it's a bit uncomfortable, and then once you gauge it, you're like, no, she wants me to laugh with her.
I don't know if I've ever actually found it uncomfortable.
Really?
But I don't know if that's because I can sometimes be like quite blunt in that way as well, that I kind of just, I feel like you wouldn't make the joke unless you were like wanted to be comfortable with people and people laugh around you. And I think I could also gauge when actually you're upset.
Yeah.
And when like I could definitely at uni there were a few times where, say, we were in second year in the house and we'd all be drinking and something might spark it for you, like a song or anything like that. And I think I could just see your head would go down and you'd be like,
my like whole energy would just shift.
Yeah. But the main thing you'd always say is, I think I'm just going to go up to bed. And then I'd be like, I know she's going up to have a little cry, which is so fine. And then I'd come up and we'd see how you're doing. But I think it was one of those things you recognize in your friends, like when to laugh.
Yeah.
And when they need help and supporting. And I think you just you gauge that over time.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I had that with you. Like, I don't know where's she going.
But also because I shut myself away. I'm like, yeah, bye guys. And then you just knock on my door, Emily, open up. And then I'm like, I swear I'm fine.
I'm so fine. While she's crying, I'm like, okay, you're not. But
you do get to know your friends really well.
You do. And I think that comes with time, but it happened so quickly for us.
Yeah, we were really lucky with that.
But we just gauge each other so well. We've been travelling together as well.
Which is really, that's why it's quite a full circle moment being here now.
Oh my God.
Of Bologna.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to tell
them.
No,
you go for it.
Well, I was just in Bologna, you know, that to be fair, Bologna was a bit all up and down in general.
Bologna was a fun time.
And anyway, when we went out for dinner just to cheer ourselves,
to eat some
bolognese. And I remember, it was really good as well. It was such a good night. And I just remember Frank saying, oh yeah, I haven't really spoken to many people about it, but I just think I've worked out what I want to do or what it is I'm meant to be doing. And then you spoke about the podcast, and then I was like, oh, what do you think you call it? And then you were like, Lost and Found. And I remember I got teary, you got teary, we both got quite emotional.
And this guy who was giving us bolognese was like,
he was like, what's going with a jug of red wine? I'm like, yeah, bring more. Bring more.
We need another.
And it was really so nice hearing you wanted to do that. And then we got our little notepads in Bologna.
Both on our journey.
Both of our little passion projects. And then, and I remember you and Sienna just sat out there writing down like lost and found. And then you could just see you were writing down loads of different ideas. And now we're actually here.
We're here.
Which is
season 2.
Yeah. I know,
What?
it's crazy.
Almost a year on, you know?
Yeah, don't remind me. That's so sad. I literally want to go back and do it
let's
again.
go
That
back.
was so much fun. But yeah, we were really lucky because I also think we both embrace those sort of emotional moments with grief and loss quite well together.
And just allowing yourself to cry. Like, I think finding someone that you can cry with as well, that actually doesn't know you before uni and like before a certain time. Like, you have now also embedded yourself with my family as well. It's always there.
Yeah.
And like, my family is such like a anyone come in sort of like thing.
That's
and
so
it's
good,
I feel like you're learning, like you just learn more about like Matt through that.
Well, that's what I've always said to you. I was like, I know I'd never had the pleasure of meeting Matt, but I feel like I know him.
Yeah.
But I think that's because you guys are so vocal about him and what he's like and everything. And I think that's been so nice because I really do feel like I've met him, I know him. And also, do you remember in Portugal when we were outside and I brought those little cushions out to the chairs and then we were like having lunch and I brought 3 out instead of 2. And then when we got up, we were about to clear our plates. I was like, oh yeah, in my head that like, oh, that's Matt's chair. And I was just like, but it's so funny because I never met Matt.
Yeah.
But then I feel weirdly like I even think about him and his place in your house and everything like that, which is lovely because you guys are so good at talking about him. You don't.
But also, you're so receptive.
Yeah.
Like, there's only so much that you can talk about someone unless someone's going to like receive it. And like,
yeah. And he's helped
you
with my
want to
flying
know.
anxiety. You always talking about him helping with the
I'm
plane.
like,
I'm
there,
like,
babes, he's
brilliant.
carrying the plane. Like, he's right. Like,
Oh, safety in the Portugal house. Yeah, he's outside. I'm like, brilliant. Matt, you've got this.
that is because
I
like,
need to go to sleep now.
when we were staying there, like on our own, because obviously we stayed in like loads of Airbnbs, just us two, and I have this like grief. I call it grief brain, like grief brain thing where like I'm like, no, like Matt stood at the door, like saying to anyone who's a bit dodgy walking past, like, buddy, move on. This is, but like, you know, having like Jenny on and talking about like energies. He's obviously, people can't see him going, move on. I can't see him, but it's just more like the energy of like, he's just giving like a vibe. But I love how like also you're like, yeah, Matt, tell him to go elsewhere.
Yeah, please.
And you say it as well, and I love
and
it
the
when
sunshine
like my friends
and everything like that.
Yeah, and I love it when my friends are like, yeah, Matt. And I'm like,
come on, take them from the team.
Tell him.
Yeah, no, you've got. I think that's the nice thing that you do feel so connected. And I also think we have spoken loads like about my nana and stuff, and I think I'm very just happy talking to you about it. I think that was the nice thing in Italy as well. We spoke so much about Matt. We spoke a lot about my nana. We both very happy.
I feel like I know your nana through you.
Yeah.
Like I really do. Like, as you say, you feel Matt through me. Like, I feel like I know your nana through you. Because like we speak about both of them so much.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we don't just sit there the whole time talking about our loved
we do have fun as well. But when we got a couple of drinks in us, though, to be fair, that does kind of come out. But then it's nice. Why not? I think it's a good release as well. It's healthy. So. It's so healthy to talk about it. And if, you know, someone is a little bit nervous, if they feel a bit pent up, like, oh, I just really fancy talking about this person, like, if your friend is the right friend, you should, and they will be receptive to it and want to listen.
Yeah.
Because they're probably dying to talk about someone they've lost as well.
And also, as I always say, like, loss comes in like so many different ways. Someone might not be wanting to talk about someone that's passed away. They might want to be talking about like a divorce or like a breakup even. Like, that's a loss. Like, it's like people have stuff pent up they want to talk about. So you'll be so shocked that like if you bring this sort of stuff up, I find it so much now that I'm getting older and older.
Just careful, I'm still older than you. Nearly 25.
He's making the quarter life crisis soon.
Please, no. Let's not talk about that.
Give it a month. But like, you do just meet more and more people like in day-to-day life. You like have stuff they want to share too.
And was it like a problem shared is a problem halved?
I love that saying because it's just so true. Like, you don't have to burden it alone. Burden it alone? But
Well,
have
it's
to-
not. You
what's
don't
the
have to
word?
carry it alone.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Burden it alone. I don't know what that came from.
but it's never.
like,
Also, it's never a burden. You're never a burden. If
You
wanna
are
talk
not
about
a
it.
burden, and
That
I
is
have
one
I
thing.
have big old trauma from this word.
Yeah.
I
Also,
am not.
I
a
don't blame you
burden.
because there have been some people in time who have made you feel like one when you absolutely haven't been. And it's so, if anyone ever makes you feel like that, they are not a good friend.
If
or a
anyone
person.
ever makes you feel like a burden or tells you you're a burden, I'm just gonna say now, you're not.
They're the problem.
I think they need to just bring some positivity in their life, because how is someone a burden who's just gone through a loss?
Yeah,
You're not a burden.
It's healthy to
And
talk
don't let
about
them
it. You're
tell you
never
you are.
ever a burden.
Nope. And
You
it took me a
need
long
to
time
share
to get over that situation for myself. So I'm just gonna tell you guys,
Yeah. If you
straight
needed to
up,
hear it,
you're not.
hear it now.
And you're
definitely
just
not.
healing. You're not a burden.
Yeah.
You're figuring it all out like we all are.
Especially coming from someone who's quite private and doesn't really. I mean, I share a lot with the right people, but
Yeah.
like me going into my room, because when I'm upset and emotional, I don't want to. I'm quite private in that sense. So coming from someone who's also quite private, like you are actually never a burden. You should share it.
I have a question actually for you. Did you find that that was quite annoying from me, that I would be like, let me in?
No, it's good. I needed someone to be like,
But
come
is it
on,
like, was it ever like, no, I actually, because I sometimes do have, like, I just do want to cry on my own.
No, I think you can have that in your head that you do just, and that's fine. Sometimes I do want that, but equally, I will always feel so much better after crying with someone. Like whether you think
And
before
you would
or
tell
not,
me.
like you do feel better afterwards. Yeah, of course. I'd be like, no, Franks, I actually need to be alone.
Yeah, you
But
would
half
tell
the time,
me.
well, most of the time, actually, never would have that. I'd rather actually speak to someone, and then you feel lighter
have a
afterwards,
hug.
and just have a hug. Yeah, make
Cry
a
on
little
me.
joke afterwards, and then
Yeah.
you're good to go for the rest of the day.
Or, yeah.
Maybe not, but you just have to get it out.
But I also feel, and I always think this to myself, because sometimes I can be I'm such a true believer, as I've said so many times on this pod, but like, you need to give options to people. So I haven't been through what I'm through. I've been through what I have been through. I like to always make sure people know they can come to me.
Yeah.
And know that I am there. But I can also imagine that, like, sometimes I also, like, okay, they don't want to, and that's like fine. I can take no as a no, and like,
yeah. I do think most
respect
people
that
do go
also.
to you though. People feel very comfortable, I think, telling you things, which is definitely, I assume, something like such a skill you've obviously had to learn the hard way after what you've experienced, but as in like you've learned
skill
of
forced
how
upon me.
but like
No,
how
but
receptive you are, because you know how it feels.
But I can imagine sometimes it's a bit like, okay, Frankie, my answer is actually I'm fine. I am like.
Are you sure you're fine? Really? Do you want to
I'm
talk about
not
anything
really.
else?
And to be fair, 90% of the
You're
time,
actually
everyone
right.
will then cry and be like, no, I'm not fine.
Yeah, but that's good. You need someone to push a little bit of the
And the amount of times
barriers.
people say to me, thank you actually for pushing.
Yeah, you have to. I think it's so important.
But also, please tell me to like get away.
No,
If you want me gone, tell me. But you
I think
will.
someone
You
would have
tell
told.
me.
Yeah, I think someone would have told you that if you were actually crying
And
too
you have.
much. Have
But
I?
not in a bad way. I could just like, you have.
Like,
You've
no,
been
I'm
No,
fine.
I'm good. I don't like fine.
Yeah, because then you'd be like, "Are you sure you're
I
fine?"
don't agree with fine, because I think we've been conditioned to fine. But I like though I'm actually like,
I
good.
just need
I've
to
had
cry,
a cry. Yeah.
and that's
Or I'm
me
going to call
done.
my mum and whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It is just sometimes. I mean, crying also is just like a physical relief for you. You have to let it out, and you will feel lighter afterwards. It's a healthy response.
Agreed. Okay. Sorry, not side. Just let's switch it up. But so obviously, enough of my grief. We're going to park that. Matt, love you.
On the
Park
sofa.
there for a sec. Energies and all. But obviously, we met. And then what? When I had left uni, right?
When my nana
When
passed
your
away,
nana passed away.
I had just left uni, so you would have left a year before.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That was.
I mean, yeah, it was my first loss.
Yeah, and a big one.
Big one. I was very, very close to my nana. She even I saw my papa the other day because he lives in Devon, so I stayed with him for 3 nights, and it's always so wholesome. Like we can just chat for hours, and
Also,
I'm so
nice how
lucky
close
to
you
have
are.
that. Yeah. And we were talking about my nana, and you could see he still gets a bit teary eyed, and he was like, God, you were just so much like Nana, and he was like, I see so much of you in her, and he was like so gentle and kind. He was like, you've also got a bit of a short temper with short side as well. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right about us. And I was like, that's so lovely that he sees me in her. But that was a huge loss for all of us, especially my cousins as well, Ezzy and Lara. Like they were so close to my nana. She was just such a good woman. She was so kind and
just like a beam of light, you know,
Yeah.
people like that who are just like light.
Yeah, and she really struggled in life. She had skin cancer, breast cancer, pneumonia like 7 times. She was bedbound for the last 10 years of her life. But she managed to make
Oh my God.
everything a positive.
Yeah.
Like we'd cut, and she would just cherish the moments. We'd come and sit with her and like drink tea with her and chat, because she loved to talk. Like that's definitely where we got it from.
Yeah.
And she loved talking with her grandchildren, and
Oh,
it was
special.
just so special. I was really lucky to have had a nana like that.
And also a nice like way. Grief is so dark and like hard to navigate, but to be able to like look back at it and also be like, oh my God, how lucky was I, is such like a...
Yeah, I suppose you feel the greater the loss that you feel, I suppose, goes to show the greater the love you felt for that.
So there's like maybe a saying, not a quote, that's just sort of like, you wouldn't be grieving someone if like without the love.
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's a bit of a weird one, because I had my granny passed away when I was like 15, and I wasn't close with her, but she didn't make nearly as much of an effort as my nana did. And it's weird to think, because I say my nana was the first person I lost, but she wasn't. My granny passed away 8-9 years before that,
but it feels
and
like
that didn't feel heavy on me. Whereas my nana was a huge loss,
and it feels like your first loss.
Yeah,
because it affected you massively.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's a weird one.
And like how it happened was...
Yeah, how it happened was quite intense. So I had just finished uni, and I was supposed to go to South America, Argentina, with my friend Finley. And the day before, my parents sat me down in the garden, and there was like a really big, beautiful sunset. And they sort of just said, my dad, I knew she'd been ill for a while. I'd been in the hospital in Devon. Bearing in mind, I live in Norfolk, so that's like an 8-hour drive. I knew she had been ill. I'd gone to see her in the hospital, and then I left when she had left the hospital. So obviously I was a bit more hopeful that she was okay. And then they just said, Emily, I don't think Nana's going to make it any longer. I think she's got a couple days left. And that was really hard, because I was supposed to be going to Argentina the next day. Obviously everything then runs through your mind, like, I'm not going. I'm going to go down to Devon. I'm not going then. And literally every single person was just saying to me, like, Emily, she'd want you to go. You have to go. This is like an adventure for you. Like, she never would want you to stop that for her. And equally, my parents very much took also the side of, I don't think you will want to see her how she is at the moment. Yeah. I think that will be really difficult. And it's a really hard one, because so many people can argue like that's still, like you did, with your nanny, you got to say goodbye. And although it was hard probably seeing her in that way, it's still a beautiful moment. But I think I just broke down. I was really distraught. I just couldn't stop crying. And I think when I get upset, I really go full force into the emotion. I was like sobbing, because it's really scary. It's like, what does that mean? I had so many questions. I was scared more than anything. And there's so many
aspects to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I think, as you say, like there's a lot put on you in that moment. Like, ultimately, this is my decision. Like, people can sway me one way or another, but that's your decision whether to go or not. And even though deep down she'd want you to go, it's also like, but this is my life and I have to live with this decision, which I think you shouldn't allow it to be a pressure, but also in that moment it is.
Yeah, and I think it was very conflicting, and I was tossing and turning a lot in that night. And my dad and my brother were going to drive at really early in the morning to get to Devon to see her. And I think because everyone told me not to, I was also very much in that space, like, okay, you know what, I think they're right. She'd want me to go. I'd seen her 1 week before, and it was beautiful the way I said goodbye to her. I had the biggest hug. I always had, because they had this like driveway that goes uphill. I always remember turning my head out the car, and every single time we've left, I've always waved her, and she's always been stood there waving. And I thought, okay, we don't know that she's going to pass away. I'm only gone for a month. Like, I had such a lovely way of saying goodbye to her the last time that maybe this is right, that I should go. Anyway, got to London, and it was just the most stressful thing ever. Like, I was trying to get through Clapham Junction. I'm not a London person. I don't know what I was doing. Clapham Junction was the most stressful place on earth. And I remember my dad calling me loads. and just trying to get hold of me, because I think he wanted me to basically call her and say goodbye, because I think that it all came along again really quickly in the next day, and he was like, okay, it's really
These
taking a
moments are
turn.
just not okay, are they? Like,
I know.
oh.
And I was racing around. I didn't know where I was going. I was trying to get to my friend Finley's house in Clapham South. I was so
always
lost.
on the train?
I don't know. And I was so lost, and I was running through Clapham Junction, and I remember picking up and being like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And then my dad being like, I can't hear you. There's no signal. I'm panicking. So I'm thinking, what if these are my last moments to say goodbye to Nana and tell her I love her? And then, and I then somehow managed to work it out, got to my friend Finley's house, sat in his garden, and my dad put me on the phone to her. And it's like one of those mad moments, because he's holding the phone to her ear. She can't speak. She's very much in that state of like, she can't communicate. And it's like, what do you say to someone actually when that is the case, when you're saying goodbye? I think he held the phone to her ear for like a minute, and it was literally just me saying I love you for like 100 times in a row. And it was just a really weird experience. But equally, I'm so glad I got that goodbye hug with her the week before, where she was like really coherent. She understood what I was saying. She said I love you too. Like, we actually got to hug. And that was quite a crazy thing, having to say goodbye over the phone. And then I then ended up, she was still alive at this point, but that was my opportunity to say goodbye, because I was about to get on a 14-hour flight to Argentina. And then I remember getting on the plane and thinking, I cannot wait to turn my phone off. And then me and Finley were in Argentina. We had some dinner, and I remember my dad just calling me and being like, she's gone. And we were out for dinner, and Finley was amazing. We just got a bottle of red wine, and we just spoke about her the whole time for hours. I think the hardest thing though about all of that was the first day away. I couldn't hug any of my family.
Yeah, you were separate.
I felt guilty not being able to hug my dad. And like, that was just because it felt like my first loss. I was like, how the hell do I navigate this abroad? And like being so far away from my family. So yeah, that was really difficult. But something it definitely taught me was that when, say, I was running through Clapham Junction, if people are ever shoving past you, someone's running, like they, accidentally hit you whilst they're running around, like, just give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
they might be
running
towards their final conversation with a loved one, or they could just be a bit of a twat and you just have to let it go. But like, either or, like, you never know. I choose to
believe the first.
Yeah, you never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
And I suppose the second thing is also just tell people you love them when you love them. It's really important. Never shy away from it. I think that's something I really learned.
Never shy away from it.
Yeah.
And I think, like, listening to that, like, again, obviously I know this story, and we've spoken about your Nana so much. And as I say, like, I feel like I know her through you. And I really see her through you, even though I never met her, like the way you speak about it. And like, as your papa said as well. But also, I also just think, like, as you say, tell people you love them, because I think it sounds morbid, but like, it's really not. Just like,
no,
tell them you love them. Don't feel guilty if you can't spend time with them, but just tell them you love them. And I actually think, in my hindsight, I think everything happened the way it was meant to happen for you. And I think you were meant to have that last hug, and you weren't meant to go with your brother and your dad.
I think so.
On that day when you flew. I think if you did, it would have maybe tarnished that last memory you had that was so perfect. Her waving, an actual hug, a good, like, love you and love you back.
And it made me really make the most of, like, South America when I was there, and like enjoy every experience.
And she's with you.
Yeah, I really felt that. Like, I think I've always been quite, I believe all of this stuff that someone's around you and all the spirit and stuff, but I found it really hard to like connect to it. But I really felt her around me, and I don't know, I think I haven't processed her passing away for a really long time. I haven't like cried in a long time. I think about her all the time, but
that's okay.
Sometimes I'm like,
process.
I can't bring myself to be really sad right now. Like, it's just I'm knackered.
Too busy.
No, but it's like, I'm so emotionally exhausted as it is. Like, I don't want to add this on top of it, because I know I will just break down. But I think, like, I was just so lucky to have the relationship I did with her, and I think I made the most of our time together, that I almost feel like I completely filled that cup with her. Like, there was nothing. Obviously, I wish she could come to my wedding and meet whoever I end up with and all of this stuff, and meet my friends. But do you know what I mean? Like, I made such an effort with her.
She's there with you always. Every step, she'll be there at your wedding. She will be there every day with me and you in Italy. She's there.
Yeah,
she's listening.
She was there. Nana's here.
So top tips, tell your loved ones you love them. And also, if someone hits you on the train, they're either a twat or they're going to their last conversation with someone they love.
Either ends of the spectrum. The
Just let it be.
Extreme or they're a twat.
Just let it be. Another great ending. Ems, I love you.
I love you.
So proud of you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. Can't
being the bestie I met at uni and giving me faith for meeting new people.
Yeah.
Past school.
And I'm so proud of you. You've done so
love you.
Well. Love you.
Thanks for coming on. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Lost and Found with Frankie. If it's resonated with you, or if you've taken something from this episode, or if you've just sat down and enjoyed it, I'd be so grateful if you could rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hit that follow button, or if you're watching me over on YouTube, please give it a like and subscribe. I really want to reach as many young people and teens who are dealing with grief, as I know firsthand how much hearing conversations like this can help. So if you know someone who could benefit from what we've talked about here today, please give it a share with them too. And come say hello on Instagram and TikTok at Lost and Found with Frankie. So thank you again for being in this space here with me, and I'll see you next time.